Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and being willing to hear what I have to say today. I want you to know that the word for yesterday was acceptance, and I did not do a video because my phone was full, did not have any space, so I did have to do a lot of finagling to get it to work today. And I'm so thankful that it is. So how many of you are struggling with acceptance or have in the past? I know that this situation that we're in with this COVID-19 has really put a lot of us in a position of having to change all of our schedules and get into new routines and bringing up a lot of fear. And, while we're safe in our homes, we still, some of us do not like that. I like to get out. I like to be social. And I do find that I struggle with being at home and it's too quiet. So I am learning acceptance through this situation again, because in the past, I'm going to share with you that May is Brain Cancer Awareness Month. And back in August of 2016, that is when my diagnosis of brain cancer came about. And that was a big lesson for me, was to accept the diagnosis. And I'm sure many of you who have struggled with an illness or who have had a loved one that struggled with an illness, it's not just acceptance for the patient, it's acceptance for everyone who's going through it with them. And a lot of people who struggle with, I don't want to just say OCD, but their ego wants to control. Nothing, and I've said this many times before, is in our control. Excuse me. And so it's very hard sometimes for us to accept the fact that changes happen out of our control. And I joke with people, and I know I saw this quote a while ago, but you think something's going to go one way and it doesn't. And I say, well, then you just have to say plot twist, because it didn't go the way you expected it to. And a lot of times it doesn't, especially if we're not tapping into our intuition. It's not going to happen the way we necessarily want it to, but it always happens the way it's supposed to. We just have to learn to accept that it is what it is and it will pass. And you can look up quotes about acceptance. I know that helps me. I journal about it. Why am I not accepting this? Is it my ego? Is it that I just wanted things to be differently? Is it my emotions? Is it like fear-based? And that's a good thing to do, is to ask yourself, go within and figure out why you're having a hard time accepting this. Because you can be angry and you can rant and rave, but that's not going to change the situation. If anything, that'll just make it more difficult for you. So try to accept things and use the affirmation, it is what it is, and then repeat, this too shall pass, because everything passes. Nothing lasts forever. We have to accept things in the present moment for what they are, with the intention to move forward and start creating action to what we desire and how we would like things to be. By setting intentions, by saying affirmations, by visualization, whatever works for you, knowing that everything that you do in a positive manner will manifest in that way. Everything you do in a negative manner will manifest in that way. So let go of your fear, let go of your need to control, and learn to accept things as they are at this very moment, because you're living in the present, right? You're not living in the past, and we're not living in the future. So live for right now, accepting things the way they are. And I really hope that it becomes easier for you as time goes on, because I know it has for me. Being diagnosed with cancer was very scary. And I had to learn to accept it, as well as everybody that was going through it with me. And I am so grateful that that is in the past, and that once I learned to accept the diagnosis, treatment came and I got intuition, feelings of which way I needed to go with treatment and doctors. And, I just had to get out of the mindset of listening to everybody else and accept everybody for who they were, and then move on with my journey. And it's very hard. That was one thing that I found was very difficult. Acceptance isn't very easy. We have to accept people we don't like for who they are, because we want to be accepted for who we are, right? And the one thing I wanted to point out was acceptance and tolerance they're not the same. Tolerance, I don't want you to think that just because you're accepting somebody for who they are, that you shouldn't put up your boundaries and say no and stop being a doormat and being taken advantage of. That's tolerating behavior that you do not deserve. So do not tolerate people who are negative. Instead of taking on their energy and putting up with it, speak your mind in a loving way. If you can't, because sometimes it's a family member, just journal and try to, how can I put up my boundaries without making them more angry with me? Or why am I taking this personally from them? Because sometimes there's something within ourselves that needs to be healed. And we do have people in our lives that push buttons and are negative, and we have those triggers, and we have to figure out why we're being triggered and how can we heal that. And a lot of times writing things down, talking to somebody about it really does start the healing process, but we have to be aware of what's triggering us first. And yes, you might blame somebody else, but it's not necessarily that. Because if they would say something to you that bothers you, and they would say something to somebody else that was the same exact thing and it didn't bother the other person, who's got the problem? It's you, yourself, not anybody else. I just want you to know that you do not have to tolerate somebody else's negative behavior. You can walk away. You can say no. You can make a conscious effort to surround yourself in the white light of the Holy Spirit every morning with the intention of being protected from anybody who is not on a high vibration, anybody who is not like-minded like you. But you will be subjected to people like that if there's something within you that needs to be brought to the surface and healed, which is one thing that we should be doing right now during this time. So just remember that acceptance and tolerance are two different things. And while we have to accept people for who they are, because we do not know if they're coming from a place of pain, we don't know what they're currently going through, we don't have to tolerate the behavior if they're treating us poorly. The next thing I wanted to address was that today's word is actually empowerment. And it wasn't just, when it came to me in meditation, it wasn't just being self-empowered. It was us shining our light through this darkness to empower other people to keep going. And how awesome is it that we're sharing our stories and people are following us and thanking us. And I think it's wonderful that this world is coming together and people are making masks and teachers are teaching online. And there's so many things out there that are positive now. And I'm loving every minute of it. So empower yourself through self-care, empower yourself through shining your light on others and motivating other people to do the same thing. Help people shine their light, but you also have to shine yours. And if somebody doesn't have a smile, then give them one of yours. And if they need an encouraging word, go for it. I always pray and say, okay, what does this person need from me today? And right away, I will come up with something which I know is divinely guided, and I will be able to give words of wisdom from a higher source. And it always ends up being a very positive experience for both of us, or all of us, if I'm in the middle of a class or a group. So make sure that you are staying on a high vibration as much as you possibly can by accepting things the way they are now, doing whatever you can daily to empower yourself and empower the ones that you're with, the ones that are around you on social media. Just keep shining your light. And I pray for you and your safety and your health. And I hope you have such a wonderful rest of your day. I wish you many angel blessings. God bless.